Hey, beautiful people. Hey, pretty people. I heart you. I heart you. Peekaboo. I heart you. Hi, replay people, as we give a moment for live people to join us. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Midday Moment. I'm your host, Dr. Davina Jones. The Midday Moment is the place where we expect great things, not because we ignore the questions of our day, not because we ignore the challenges of our day. We expect great things because we recognize that we are both fully human and fully divine. And in our fully human selves, we got stuffs, lots of it. And in our fully divine selves, we got answers. We have miracles waiting to form in our divine selves. We have peace, joy, love, hope, happiness. All of that is within our divine selves. So the midday moment is designed to help you, me, us tap into the divine. When you tap into your divine, you tap into your river of answers. You tap into your river of joy, your river of hope, your river of peace, your river of love. Yes. And we're not by ourselves. We are part of a large network called Kingdom. And we've got a full menu of Kingdom inspirations with Dr. Terrell R. Pulley in the Daily Download, Elder Katrina Johnson Smith, and Prayer and Praise on Tuesdays and Thursdays, Elder Renato Casadas with the Luminaries on Facebook, Deacon Kenneth Butler Jr., Night to Review on Monday night. So check out the menu. It's time for the midday moment right now. It's time for the midday moment. This is what's on the menu now. Time for the midday moment. Whoa, it's time. We help you tap into the divine so you can create. I'm creating great things. I'm creating great things in the middle of the day. Because it's the midday moment in the middle of the day. I'm creating great things. Yes, I am, folks. And I'm creating in my life. Yeah. I'm creating great things. In my home. Whoa. I'm creating great things. All around, background, all around, I'm creating great things. Eyes may not see, but I choose to believe. I know it might not look great. It might not even look like the potential to be great. It may look so chaotic, so traumatic, that you feel like there is absolutely no hope. But I'm encouraging you, don't lose hope. Keep the faith. Keep hope alive. Yes, for great things. All right, yay! Everybody say thank you, theme song. Thank you, theme song. And theme song said, you're welcome. All right, everybody. All right, that's our theme song, Priscilla Hilliard's Great Things. The OGs voted to keep it. We put a vote out there, and I didn't get anybody to say change the song. Everybody said keep it, keep it. Now, mind you, everybody was my faithful OGs, but I'm going with it. So that's our ongoing theme song. Every now and then we mix it up a little bit, but I'm riding with it because it just continues to minister even to me in a unique way. So we're staying with it. All right, folks. So we are having an amazing time of growth. Bam. As we study during this season of Lent, keys to the kingdom. Keys to the kingdom. Okay. And so we spent some time getting rid of the junk. We read the journal, getting rid of the junk. So we spent some time detoxing. I was looking for something here. So we spent some time detoxing so that we can make room for these keys. And we've made room for the keys. And so now we've been studying the keys. And so as we study the keys, as we study the keys, a part of what we're doing is studying the keys to what we call kingdom. Kingdom is righteousness, peace, and joy. Kingdom is the righteousness, peace, and joy that we seek. I've been saying for the past couple of days, when you're talking to your therapist, you looking for peace. When you're talking to your best friend, you're looking for peace. Sometimes when you're eating popcorn and watching a movie, you're looking for peace. And we don't deprive any of us from any of that. All of those are mechanisms to help us work with the keys, okay? All of those are mechanisms to help us work with our keys, okay? Because it's all of it is a part of us looking for righteousness, peace, and joy. Righteousness, peace, and joy is how one of the many ways that we define kingdom. Righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. That's Romans 14. Righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Spirit, or righteousness, peace, and joy and the flow of spirit. I like to say it that way because it gives meaning to me. Righteousness, peace, and joy in the flow of spirit. Sometimes we are looking, many times, oftentimes, most of the time, what we are looking for is that river, that flow of righteousness, peace, and joy in our homes, in our health, in our bodies, in our relationships, in our money. We're looking for the flow of righteousness, peace, and joy. And there are keys to that. There are keys to help us access that. And the other things that I mentioned that we do, we watch popcorn and all of that. A lot of that is designed to help us detox, to help us kind of get into the place. Once you get into the place via therapy, once you get into the place via popcorn, once you get into the place via your whatever it is, your cookie, your tea, your water, your exercise, once you get into the place of study, once you get into the place where it's time now to pull out the key and open the door so that you step back into your river of righteousness, peace, and joy in the flow of spirit. All right. There are specific keys, and we've identified 12 of them. And so we are on key number 4. We're on key number 4. You can go back and watch the past couple of episodes of the Midday Moment, and you can watch the also in the daily download. There are the first part of the daily download. There's a prayer dedicated to each reading for the journal, and then we have the keynotes on Fridays, and each night we have a different member of our COTEC entity, our national network, that is bringing a teaching to you. I think tonight it is Bishop Walter D. Rogers, and so we invite you to scroll through this page, and you can go to our Kotek family page, COTEK, Kotek family. You can go to our Kotek family Facebook page, and you can see the various reflections. All of us are given daily reflections on the readings as we study the keys. All right, so we're studying key number 4, and so this is the Midday Moments opportunity to offer the study. So key number 4 is on sowing. It's on sowing and reaping. And today, specifically, we're talking about sowing and planting. So the key is sowing and reaping. So we did key number 1, binding and loosing. You got to go back and get that. Okay. Okay. Binding and loosing has to do with your position of authority. You are the usher in your life. And you get a chance to bind and loose. You get a chance to say what comes in and what goes. We did the key of greatest and least, which is your posture. What is great is not your title, it's not your money in the bank. What is great is your humility. And that is how you access the river of righteousness, peace, and joy. And then we took a moment to look at the third key, and the third key is good and evil. All right. Being able to see all things, I mean all, to see it all God, all good, all light. And so we gave you variations of what does that mean. Okay, so you gotta go back and get that. And so now we're looking at the key of sowing and reaping, and in particular, sowing versus planting. We're on day 18 in our journal. All right, so we're on day 18. Again, these are keys to help you access, step into, return to your river of righteousness, peace, and joy, your flow in life, to have more peace in your health, more peace in your relationships, and more peace in your money. Okay. All right. So sowing and planting, sowing and reaping, key. And our subtopic is sowing and planting. So when we talk about sowing and planting, there are some different some different variations or understandings here for us to consider. And so number 1, When we talk about sowing, sewing has to do. I love the way it reads very specifically here in the book. I had not seen this in any of our materials. I hadn't seen this in any of our materials before. Sewing has to do with you surrendering the outcome, surrendering the outcome. And here we say surrendering the outcome ultimately to God, surrendering the outcome. So when you sow, the analogy that I think I heard once was kind of like when you're trying to grow your grass maybe, and you just kind of throw the seeds out there. It's a very wide and broad investment, if you will. It's a very wide and broad investment that you release out, and you surrender the outcome, to source, to God. You surrender the outcome and say, okay, I've got all the seeds. I've spreaded them out. And so I will allow now that to be what it's going to be. And so that's sowing. Number two, you have planting. Planting in the book, it says, is when you sow specifically to control the outcome. When you sow specifically because you have a destined, desired outcome. And so between the two of those, and then I'll take you into my third reflection for closeout. Between the two of those, a part of what I'm seeing is also, along with the analogy of when maybe you're just sowing your seeds for grass, is sometimes when a lot of times when I'm sowing versus planting, it's also because I recognize that the extent of clarity, or the clarity that I have right now, only guides me to sow. I don't have clarity beyond the sowing. And so I sow and I trust the process. I sow and I trust the divine order of sowing and reaping. I sow, because that's the summary of the clarity that I have. Kind of like when I'm maybe sometimes when I'm looking for a job. I'm looking for a job. And so I sow my resume. I got a resume over here, got a resume over. Somebody gonna call me. I got a resume over here, got a resume over here, got a resume over here, got a resume over here. You keep sowing that resume. You keep sowing that resume. You keep sowing that resume. You sow that resume in faith and hope and all of that. You sow that resume. Somebody's going to call me. All right. So those are the analogies that I have about sowing. Okay. I'm sowing in faith. I'm sowing out of love. I'm sowing, and we'll talk about that in the third one too, out of. But I'm sowing, and the extent of the clarity that I have is that I'm sowing and I'm trusting the process. I'm surrendering the outcome to however, God moves, because all I have is sow. Go look for the job. So I sow the resume. I sow the resume. And sowing and reaping tells me I'm going to reap. I'm going to reap some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. I'm going to reap. And so I'm sowing, trusting the process that as I sow, I reap. Okay. Now, planting. Planting, I've got some more clarity. I've got some more clarity, and I am very targeted in my sowing because I am planting for this. I'm sowing the seed, but I'm sowing it in a very targeted, intentional way for a very specific outcome. And we refer to that as planting. I'm planting. It is very specific. The analogy that I just heard was, when I'm dating, I'm sowing. When I'm getting married, I'm planting myself in this marriage for a specific outcome in a specific relationship with a specific person. Dating, I'm sowing. Now, which one of y'all gonna manifest? But we're sowing. We're sowing time. In the book, it talks about we sow our time, we sow our individuality, money and energy and love. Flowers, I accept. Flowers and, whatnot. Sowing. Planting, I've got greater clarity. I'm very specific. This is very intentional. I'm planting, and this is focused sowing. Planting is focused sowing. We're not all out here. We are here. We're not all out there. We are right here, planted. Everything is everything that's about this particular flower is in this pot, not over in that pot. This pot. It's very intentional planting. And that can be professionally, that can be with your degree, that can be professionally with your training, with your certification, that could be a health matter. You are specifically planting. When I drink water, I'm sowing. When I drink water and I put water into my body, I'm just sowing water into my body. But there are other things that I do that's very targeted. It's a planted, it's a planting that's for a very specific health outcome, a very specific relational outcome, a very specific financial outcome. And so I encourage you to decipher when it's time for you to sow, send the resumes out, date, and when is it time for you to plant. Very focused on this particular path, professionally, relationally, health wise, financially. It's really good to be able to decipher what, what kind of give is required for where you are situationally and so forth. Now, so that's a little bit on the difference between sowing and planting. As you trust the key that as you sow, and as you sow specifically, as you sow broadly, sowing, and as you sow specifically, planting, as you sow in either way, as you sow with some wisdom and with some discernment on what time it is and what kind of sowing am I doing. As you do that, you're trusting the key, you're trusting the process of sowing and reaping. You shall reap. Okay. And then the third part of that I desire to offer you, I got so this fan onto my body right now. The third part of that is where you sow from. Where you sow from. The place that you sow from. The origin of your seed. The origin of your seed, the attitude in which you sow. In the book it talks about energy and love, time. When you sow your time is time, TIME, and also an acronym. T for time, I for individuality, M for money, E for energy and love. It's energy and love. If you sowing in the energy of bitterness, if you sowing in the energy of confusion, you sowing in the energy of being messy, you sowing in the energy of you want to be seen.
Powering off.
You sowing in the energy of ego because you want to try to act like show that you got it like that. Whatever you sow, you reap. So be mindful of where you're sowing from. That's why all of these keys, you see that they really work together. Because we were talking about greatest and least as the second key. And what allows you to experience the greatness in life, the greatness in that river of righteousness, peace, and joy, is the posture of humility. You bring that right on in to sowing and reaping. Whether you sowing, dating, or planting, in terms of, that's my alarm, making sure I'm where I'm supposed to be. Thank you, baby. Got somewhere to be. I gotta go sow. I'm actually getting ready to go and teach a class. I'm going to be sowing as I teach that class, and I'm going to be sowing from a place of compassion, a place of care, a place of concern, a place of I believe in you, I believe in my students. So I'm getting ready to go and sow very broadly. And then there are other times when I'm mentoring and I'm coaching. It's a very specific planting. In all of it, I encourage you to make sure you do it from a place. Sow, plant, place. And you sow from a place of gratitude, a place of hope, a place of cheerfulness. Sow from the origin of love. And if you're not in that place of love, you're not in that place of positivity, don't sow it, don't give it. Keep it to yourself. I don't keep it to yourself. Keep it. Keep it. Keep it to yourself. Wash it up, clean it up, sanitize it, and then you share it. Don't give it out in bitterness. Don't give it out with a nasty attitude. You when you dealing with your kids and you're like, I think that deserves an apology. Sorry. And I've learned the 10-year-old has taught me even in her earlier days. She taught me give her time so that she can apologize from a place of love. And it may take her a day or two. But when she comes back, she'll come back and she'll hug me. She said, Auntie, sorry I acted that way yesterday. Versus when you try to force her to say you sorry, say you sorry, say you sorry. Just give it time. Give yourself time and give others time. And in the right time, you sow from a place of love. In the right time, you're able to plant from a place of love. All right. I got to go, y'all. Take care, everybody. I think, ooh, yes, it's time. All right. Take care, everybody. I love you. God bless you. And God be you. Hearts. Hearts.